I always forget that it takes, that time to, yeah. Let's see, hopefully, if I kill this, it should still going, right? Recording is in progress. Okay, good. Yeah. Oops. And at the same time, of course, we also estimate a small error. Oh, okay, good. It went away. But I do want to use the edition. Yeah. All right. So, we'll get started in about two minutes. Okay. Yeah. We can also, I know, understand, the difference next month. November, so I might come back.
Okay, connect with me, and we'll do that. I also would like to connect you. Maybe I will do some pre-work to look at some of our survey programs here. And sort of
so Steam is pen user 1. That's good. I think that's us. I think so. I'm using this where it's a really useful. It's really interesting and okay, everybody on the phone, hopefully you can hear me. This is Inez, and I'm at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this is for a seminar. I'm going to turn it over to Terrence Savitsky to introduce our speaker, but one thing I just want to let you know out there in WebEx land, I will not be able to monitor the WebEx or the chat, so if you have any audio issues, sorry, we'll deal with them. So hopefully you'll be able to hear everything, and you'll enjoy the talk. So I will turn over to Terrence Savitsky to introduce our speaker.
I'm going to take one of these and just... Sorry. Hey, folks on WebEx, we're navigating here so that we speak into our speaker so that you can hear. Yes, very Star Trek-like. Anyway, so we have today with us Professor Dongchu Sun. He is very prestigious, very distinguished in the field of statistics, and we're lucky to have him here today. And we hope we have the opportunity to work with him here at BLS in the future. But a funny little story before I sort of maybe give some insight as to why he is so prestigious in the field. I asked him, he came today, if he would send me a biography in order that I might introduce him. And he said, well, I'll send you my CV and you can use that. But it's 25 pages long. So I'm going to proceed to read it to you now. Just kidding. But anyway, so and it's 25 pages long because it deserves to be 25 pages long. In any case, for many of us in the Bayesian statistics community, which in the federal statistical system is a somewhat class people, we know of Professor Sun because of his groundbreaking work in objective Bayes. Of course, objective is a funny word in Bayesian statistics, but more broadly, Dr. Sun has really pioneered how we think about prior distributions in a Bayesian setting. And anyone that's ever done or experienced Bayesian statistics, you know that it's really the prior distributions that really determine the behaviors of your model. And Don has shed a lot of light on the kinds of assumptions that we make, the kinds of appropriate assumptions that we make. Anyway, until this spring, Dr. Sun was the chair of the Department of Statistics at the University of Missouri, which is, as many of you know, a very prestigious statistics department in the Bayesian community. Interestingly, for those that don't know, he received his PhD from Purdue University, advised by Jim Berger. I did notice that. I did not know that, so that's sort of interesting to know. And he has over 140 peer-reviewed publications, which is ginormous. Most of us would like to have a small fraction of that over our career. But in particular, I just want to say in closing that I'm excited for Professor Sun's talk today because it kind of illustrates sort of challenging Bayesian statistics. So in this case, we're talking about the covariance matrix of a normal distribution. Covariance matrices are very specific kinds of objects. They have to be symmetric, positive, definite, and they're restrictive. And how do you handle that in a Bayesian setting? In many cases, the way we handle that is, unfortunately, with over-restrictive prior distributions. And he's going to talk to us about a new class of prior distributions for these covariance matrices. And it's interesting and important in advancing Bayesian statistics. So I'll turn it over to Professor Sun.
So do I have to have this with me, or it's my great pleasure to be so this is my second visit. My last visit, 2 months ago, and was a wonderful opportunity to know what have a better understanding of the BLS. So which I knew more before I was interested in that kind of a possible working there, and second I saw now I understand it's kind of challenging things, and it's like as a brother, the agency with the census bureau, where you do your important work for the government, and it's employment, very important issues, of any presidential elections or any of the party things, for people's daily life. Right. I say it's a joint work with Jim Booker, my advisor. So it's a graduate a long time ago. So kind of see why I was still working with Booker. So it's our hobby. So my dissertation was on real applications a long time ago, and so but we kind of enjoy working with objective Bayesian. So it's kind of a situation where that it requires choice of the prior. So but it has an advantage of computationally advantage in these days using CMC. So complicated hierarchical model you can compute. So so we want to take advantage of the Bayesian analysis, but we still want to enjoy the frequentist the perspective of the Bayesian procedure. So we choose a prior which is model based. That the masses. Then we come back and look at how the behavior when the thing usually get estimated to use time with it. So we say, oh, now you normally get an estimator, but how reliable is that estimator? So we want to look at the space of when the operations are changing. So in the frequentist sense, then whether the estimator confidence interval or test hypothesis and the prediction is still good in the frequentist sense. So that's the only Bayesian, objective Bayesian can do that. The reason that if you use objective Bayesians, it's highly depend on what prior you put on there, and different objective priors, some dying, right? No, okay. People are joining. I see. So in that situation, the Bayesian were good if you are, the parameters around the range or around the mean of the mean. But the objective prior is it's not prior. It's a weight function. So it's data analysis masses. So essentially it's a frequentist. So we take advantage of the Bayesian procedure, but want to study the frequentist property. So we can reach the both sides. So it's so have a good Bayesian interpretation and also the frequentist interpretation. So having seen that, it's easy. However, it's much more challenging than the Bayesian because you need understand the Bayesian side. Then frequentists usually take a choose the mode, but we take a start a frequency part, you have to do the high dimension integration thing, then, it's much harder. But we thought it's fun, so we have been working on a book for 2 years. We saw quite a few interesting questions in objective Bayesian, this thing. We have pioneer meetings, so from 96, so 2 years before, we actually started the work on this. So the 2 years after that from VA, and so we have been working on this objective Bayesian analysis for, just almost 6 years now. So we meet 2 or 3 times a year, sometime in overseas and 2 or 3 weeks in Spain, in Italy, and 2 weeks in Duke and a couple weeks in Missouri. So I'm doing that over 2 years. So we published quite a few papers, solved some quite interesting fundamental issues there. So that's in addition to our regular work, we do the applications, other things. So I am saying that it's our hobby. So this work, is one of the fundamental problems. So start that we have it's a book, objective Bayesian analysis. So it's one chapter. How do you solve the estimate the correct of uncertainty of estimation, the mean, right? So the parameters, uncertainty. How to solve the uncertainty problem? So you say what to do with you even have just a simple normal distribution. And so we actually in the process of choosing the hyperprior of hierarchical model application estimation to other model, but then how use the co-matrix I have to put there. That how do you do even for the normal? So then it was a few years, and last a few years we spent several weeks in China every summer, the East China Normal University. So Ang Yun Song is a PhD student from that university. We kind of co-advise so the students. So it's just it's kind of you can say 2 or 3 generations doing work on this thing. Okay, so sorry for that. That's a long introduction to that problem. I hope so. Wondering we'll work on this fundamental problems. Although so the situation is very simple. So you have a single random sample from normal population, very normal, so it's k dimension, the mean, and sigma is variance covariance matrix. So the estimate of the mu is understood by people. So at this moment we just assume that mu is so for simplicity. So shrinkage estimator is very good, from the frequency side, from Bayesian side. So we know that. So we assume that's 0. So the sufficient statistic for sigma is this is a sample mean variance. So you have yi minus y bar. The mu is unknown, but here mu is known. So you just take out observation. So W thing is dispersion of the sample covariance matrix. It's known. So you don't subtract the sample mean. So this is W. We know it's a Wishaw distribution. So it has degree freedom. The average of W is m multiplied by sigma. Okay. So W by m will be the bias estimator. It's the best bias estimator. This is sufficient statistics. The MRE in this case. So if the mu is unknown, so you by m is MRE. The m minus 1 is a bias estimator. But in this case, you don't subtract the mean. So therefore, this is both MRE and also the bias estimator. So from this sense, it's very happy. So you use the estimator and the time. So it's one of the don't count that. But the recent applications we all know that can be many places, astrophysics, economics, environmental, and climate, or genetics. So for climate, you can think about the high price, average, and level, small area level, or with the rent, or you set your utility bill might correlated with gas bill and water power is correlated, and some then so you that from another dimension could be your other incomes. So high salaries have more opportunity, with other income, you invest more on other things. So a simple example like that could be that exists everywhere. For genetics, so you have 4,000 genes out there. Maybe for some disease, it's maybe 100 genes really closely related to that particular disease. So at some time with 5,000 genes, so that was a device. Say you measure things, then you get an answer, and each of the tests costs a lot of money. Physical people do 50 observations, 100 observations, try to model the 5,000 genes, see the connection, how the uncertain the correlation matrix, how they are kind of connected. So it's a sparsity problem. So with 1,000 genes, so you have 5,000 multiplied, 5 by 2. That's the unknown parameter because the matrix is saturated. So one observation, 50 observations, it's sparse. So there's been a lot of statistical study in the last 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. So it's a small thing. So people have to assume some kind of sparsity, whether the matrix is diagonal or block diagonal with lots of zeros in it, or in order to inference on that. So that's a part there. How do you actually estimate the correlation matrix? Is an issue. Or have a survey from different resources, and they're correlated, and how do you model that correlation among those? Those are kind of small case on that. Okay, so there's different kind of application that it's just kind of a problem. All right, so now so it starts from the effort to improve among the classical estimator of the SMRE or unbiased estimator, as I said. So it's of this this W. So Stein, we know that he's a Stein, phenomenon estimator in the sample mean. So early of the 60s or middle 60s, you assess the sample mean. You do the estimator for the population mean, as the unestimated MRE even variance is known. But if it mentions more than 3, it's inadmissible. So you have you can have a best estimator with smaller mean square error. Kind of famous Stein estimator. Then 10 later in 75, Stein showed that. So there is a similar phenomenon, in the correlation matrix thing. So the sample estimator is seriously inadmissible in terms of loss of entropy loss, or use the square loss as a matrix solution on that. So that's well known, but is existing in that literature. Just a life story, exists there for ever since the mid-70s. This is like 40 years now. So people turn to the subjective Bayesian analysis. Say, let's do this thing. Use it's a conjugate prior. It's inverse Wisha. So the usual inverse Wisha prior, so it's the sigma minus say A as opposed to K as a dimension. So that situation is positive. So, or you can this way, A is bigger than K. So you can have a proper prior on that. That's the condition. H is a parameter. So it's related to the mean of the sigma or sign both. So you can see that the dimension of H is also K by K. In order to choose the prior, choose S one number, then you need choose H. So in order to do any subjective Bayesian analysis, so it's large number of parameters you need to specify. So people do have information, but it will be difficult. So one simple choice in the literature is choose H as identity or by constant. So wing box is called epsilon, whatever. So that epsilon goes to 0. So in a sense, H goes to 0, and it's proportional to sigma at the power. So then on this class, of course you can choose A to be 0, then it's constant prior. It's done by it's object innovation community, and this was 1812, which is 200 years ago, and Laplace is famous. We know the constant prior is not very good. There was it's not invariant after the transformation. So invariant prior, which is the Jeffreys rule prior, which is proportional to the root of the determinant of Fisher information. It has that form. So it's closed form. So it's a situation when the H is 0 or goes 0 and chooses that specific A to be K plus 1 over 2. That's in that class. And so people have been doing this long history, and they know this price is not only subjective, so it's very sensitive to choice of the H, and also Jeffreys price, is not very good. Well, it's good in the sense the posterior mean or the generalized Bayesian aspect of that Jeffreys price, and it's exactly the same as Murray and unbiased estimate. So I'll give an justification of the somehow frequentist and subject objective Bayesian, they agree actually. They have the same estimate of this MRE. So the problem seems to be solved. So from another side, verification using this Jeffreys prior, and just get a answer. So different philosophy, two from the frequentist school, one from the objective Bayesian school, they got the same answer. But then the Berger says was young, was also Jim's former student. The dissertation, they wrote a paper, and then they called reference prior. So see that one is the determinant of the sigma multiplied by this funny factor that both in a denominator. So they criticize the difficulty, the problem in the Jeffreys prior. And so the aspect from frequentist is serious in the middle because I already showed that 75. So it provides us alternatives, in 74. This factor, I will tell you what that factor is. So that's a product, the lambda I, that's the eigenvalues of the sigma. So it's, so all differences, there are lots of terms there. K minus 1, a term of that factors right there. And other standard way people do is like you model the standard deviation K of those, then model a correlation matrix. So, but then I go much further. So it's just some estimate. So that because the correlation parameter, that has to be 1, and hard to find a good prior for still conjugate. It's very hard on class. So people do all kind of column masses on that. And this objective Bayesian and networks, so Jim and I have been doing this, other rest prior, and this is using the Chomsky combination. So Chomsky combination triangular, but it depends on the order of the K coordinates. So, and then we say that's if you know the order. So which parameters of importance and other least important you do, and of order you can do. But if you don't know order, it's kind of hard. So if you have too many cases, you have orders at least. one is that, 1, 2, 1 is 2 and 1 reverse. So you get a triangle decomposition, Cholesky decomposition, or low triangle decomposition. And you stay and you could get a answer. You can take an average, and that was a disaster. So you take an average and things. So it didn't work. So that's how you actually, full subjective and Bayesian Bayesian's compare and didn't know what to do, whether Bayesian can actually improve this provide better method for this historical problem. Okay, in what sense I should say a few words about this entropy loss. So it's Hurry-Weber distance, or that divergence between the density and the two parameters. One true parameter, another you treat parameter sigma, but that is fixed. And you compute the answer, then it's a function of this form, and then you add the loss function, non-negative, and with if and only if the error and the true are the same. So that says show that this is MRE is seriously inadmissible. So you can he found some embedded estimator, so you improve the risk function frequentist sense. So by doing what do you do? He said you should shrinking the eigenvalues of the sample covariance matrix W over W itself. Shrinking together. The smaller gets bigger and bigger, eigenvalue gets smaller. Do that way. So this MRE happens to be the unbest of the MRE and the Bayesian estimator. That particular Bayesian estimator uses the Jeffreys file. And switch the loss, sigma 1, sigma, in that formula, you get another loss. There's another entropy loss being studied in the literature. So if you have covariance matrix here, and then that Bayesian estimator, generalized Bayesian estimator, is posterior mean of sigma. One is the posterior mean of the position, then taking both. That estimator sigma back, first. So that different kind of estimator. So something seriously wrong with Jeffreys prior for covariance matrix. So that's why. No. So then looking back, so there's this form, an estimator, and this form of that. So and there's factor here. So what is this factor actually about? So standard Bayesians and objective Bayesian together with the frequentist method MRE have the criticizing much the same way as the MRE say or because answer the same thing. Right? So indeed, when you transform to so eigenvalue after decomposition, actually can see what was the problem. So this problem exists for 50 years. So people didn't know, have this close look at that. So singular value decomposition or eigenvalue decomposition are talking about the same thing. So the sigma be written as the sigma, the gamma and lambda gamma transfer. That's gamma is the eigenvector, and the lambda is the diagonal of those values, k of those. So the Jacobian from sigma to to the eigen this is one-to-one transformation to that space, and that factor is a Jacobian. Okay, so what is you have Jacobian there. So if you prior from this space to the value eigenvector space, so you multiply by the Jacobian. So when here you didn't have the Jacobian, then you have the Jacobian in the numerator. The one that's that factor in the denominator also has that factor. The no longer have that Jacobian, that in your format. That's why this Jan-Berger's reference file will actually did simulation perform much better than any of the subjective and objective Bayesian answers. That MRE. So did it, in Anna's paper 94 use that. So it's part of the reason. So that but no one ever, this is like 20-some years, and didn't look at it and what was the problem. So have this factor there. So you have that factor in the numerator. So it's actually telling you. So if your eigenvalue get closer, so have 0 weights in your prior. There's a weight function. So when they get closer, you put 0 weights. When they're not closer, you put, of course, then you have positive weights, right? Especially some a larger one, you will have more weights. Say if it's splitting apart, so the prior actually is not shrinking. So you actually make your the opposite way, did a wrong shrinkage. That's why the Japanese prior will not work, and this together with the regular subjective agents, use the Wisha prior will not work either. So it was a problem. So people didn't find out. So this term becomes 0 when the eigenvalue gets closer, and prior have the effect of the forcing the eigenvalue apart. So the anti-shrinkage idea. So seeing that, so now we just introduce a new class of prior, and then having that factor at the denominator. So it's put it there. So otherwise, it's more like an inverse Wisha, but we have factor there. So when we promote it, it says choose B is 1. So therefore, no eigenvector space will have no such term there. So in a sense, we call prior called shrinkage inverse Wisha because it's really doing the shrinkage effort to work out. Okay. So of course, when you choose, we use 0 back to original inverse Wisha. But if we have B, which is the one we promoted, so it's a generalization of the reference prior. Reference prior choose H to be 0 and the A to be 1 out there. So both special cases. Have B is 1, we call it shrinkage inverse Wisha. So do you want to have the B there to be 1? So then you transform eigenvalue eigenvector space. You will have the Jacobian. So then that's our motivation. CS has factor. Some good is bad. So good we solve the shrinkage problem. Bad side, so the integration will have integrate. So situation you have a proper prior, of course. So if I have the A is bigger than A, if H is positive, definitely will be fine. But what I really want to do is that I want to relax the condition on H. So H to be low dimensional rather than full rank. So the question, if it's a low rank, at what situation the prior even is proper. So you produce a whole class of the proper prior. So to begin with, of course, if you can figure out that, and then you will know when the posterior is proper. So if the H is to be 0, then H comes from the W. So when you do the low rank loading. So for frequent test, in order to MRE, so the M number of observation will have to be at least K. Okay, 5,000 genes, you need 5,000 dimensions in order to get MRE. The MRE will not be invertible. You're using non-invertible to estimate invertible matrix, which is not, so of course you don't want that. So this is our motivation. So we know if H is positive, definitely it's supposed to be powerful, not powerful. But we have will relax that condition so that H is rank and even 1 dimension or something when you have the proper prior. The more interestingly when you have a proper posterior. So that's all I think here. So now we'll do a comparison of different prior for and the sigma space and the eigenvector space. This is there's a class and the transform there. So you have a -1 view frequent numerator. So general didn't really say much. But the inverse Wisha it didn't have that factor before. Now you have that factor at the numerator. So it's doing shrinkage. You can know it's not good. And there's a shrinkage inverse Weisha had that before. Now you don't no longer have that. So it's under that space is a lot nicer. And eigenvector space, the phi is doing the wrong thing because the side, you have a factor in the numerator, and there's also reference pi does not have, and it's something we call that reference prior. So that prior, so instead of 1, so you subtract a small factor related to the distinction. And that one actually is the one we promoted. And that it's also as good as the prior. However, so you can do low rank learning. So that's a requirement for the sample size. It's max. I'll show how many observations you need in order to have posterior. Okay. So and of course the constant prior, we know it's not good. And then we uniform prior on the sigma with factor only. Happen that this is Jacobian, and it's formed to eigenvalue eigenvector space is constant. So constant to the eigenvalue eigenvector space, I will show you it's quite good, almost as good as the reference pricing, but you cannot use constant prior for the sigma space. It's a disaster. So or suggesting, and so now as a property of the shrinkage inverse Weisha. So now I do have the factor in the model, in the denominator. So you have a rank of the p, it's the h. Okay. So I want that one to be positive. So if p is 0, you will never have a proper posterior. So you need at least the 1. So that thing. So later on, show at least you have one observation, it will be quite good. Okay. So assume if this is full rank, so this is A is positive, then the prior proper. Okay. So if it's a P is lay, so either additional conditions on over the case length of H. So that P could be 1. Unless you have one relation, if a prior does not have that component, so then A choice will be between 1 and 1.5. So if larger P, so we'll have choices more. When P gets to K, so you relax by side condition on that. This is for prior. So then you can look at it. That's in exact moments, so conditions and so you have a little bit more constraint on the A's, so only there, and when the prior will be proper, and when will be have a prior moment, so it's the precision matrix, the moments, because there are two estimators there, the two function. One is related to the posterior of the precision, one is related to the posterior mean. That's why you saw two kinds of the moments and when the problems exist. And so the Bayesian estimator will exist. So that's the condition related, so have that thing. Okay. So let's look at some with the shrinkage inverse of Weisha, and so now it's the that particular prior, and in the case when H is proportional to identity, so we can nice closed form, and otherwise we have closed form, but it's not as nice as this. So for something you can actually compute nice. So when you mesh with the inverse Weisha, so you can choose both identity, and then you can say how they affect. You use the two different classes with mean and variance on first and second moment. How do you do the comparison? So that's that purpose. And then so this is doing that. So if you inverse Weisha and the shrinkage inverse Weisha, right? So both the H matrix is proportional to identity. One is theta identity, another C identity. So that you can have a relationship between alpha beta and MC. So you can there is form for correspondence, so that you can match the two moments on that. So next, I want to see the counterparts of the smallest eigenvalue and the largest eigenvalue. Lambda largest eigenvalue and smaller eigenvalue. So we will see, because of factor that the Jacobian. So we had the original. So most powerful. So we look at the two classes, and we see how much difference into the counterpart of largest eigenvalue and smaller eigenvalue. So in the inverse Wisha, we'll do one shrinkage. Okay, and we'll see how seriously we look at case 5 and 50 so situations, and the two. So in this case, the eigenvalue of that, the matrix. So you seek, so suppose moment the proportional identity. So the eigenvalues they are all equal. Okay, values they are all equal because it's proportional to identity. So we know what theoretical is the eigenvalue lambda 1 lambda k, but it's a simulation, and so we write a counterplot. So then no longer so the sample covariance matrix reducing. So we no longer current covariance matrix will not have the same eigenvalues. Okay, so say the prior, so in the overall, and so the difference of the distribution here. And so there's a counterplot, and the top two are the two, the left is the inverse Wisha, right is the shrinkage inverse Wisha. So here, the largest eigenvalues, somewhere here, suppose actually they're all 1, largest is smaller 1. So here, is higher, and that one is below 1. This is over 1. So this is 1. Largest eigenvalue is bigger, so but that one is not. So it's around 1 also. And all of the eigenvalues make it smaller if it over 0.2, over there is 0.4. So you can see that the prior actually is, is active in certain way. And similar here, so 50 dimension. So logarithmic. So the theoretical eigenvalues are all 1, but here largest, so that there's another 1 around 5 point something, and then here is 0.2. Over there, the largest one is around 4, so smaller than 6. So it's not a bad shrinkage as the inverse Wisha. So and the small ones are bigger, so it's more together. So this is demonstrated that the phenomenon, that the shrinkage around the correct shrinkage of the new prior from the prior point of view. That's the demonstration. So now we're turning to the posterior class. So now we have the conditions of sample sizes as a MRE, and SS model and the Jeffreys prior. That's responding to you need a K observation to have posterior. So in a sample size, the constant prior to the sigma, even worse, you need a K observation. The constant prior for the sigma, existing, so it's the first line here. So you need 2 observations, so it's really wrong. And in literature, a lot of people are using that. So the constant prior for sigma is good, but it's really not good. So, existing the moments, and you need a 2K or more or less on that. So the reference prior requires the K observations roughly, and modified reference prior, somehow just need 1 observation for that. Looks like it's improper, but, the structure, and so the uniform prior for initiation. It's uniform prior on the one is the constant prior towards the sigma, one constant towards eigenvalues on the magnitude, so on that space. So you have the observations roughly, or 5 observations. So then you can have the existing posterior. So that's the modified reference prior or the performance of this constant towards the value eigenvector space is reasonable good. That performance is kind of very similar on that. So sense with less dimension, you 3 observation, 5 observation. So estimate the matrix. You now get a positive estimator. So then you can have a good precision matrix. At least positive definite. You'd say, use something low rank to estimate the positive definite matrix, which is is not good on that. So that's the situation. Talk about the computation. How do you actually compute? So with if that the B is 0, so we know it's inverse Wisha. Inverse Wisha. Nice thing about that, computing is easy. But we said the performance is not good. So we propose a new prior, have to tell how to compute this thing here. So to compute, so B0, so I'm not talking about it. So I talk about going B is 1, so either 0, 1. So of course the method can be used similar from prior or posterior, and the conjugate. The new class with B is 1 is conjugate. So so two exist. This is a mature system was done a long time ago. So you similar from inverse Wisha and compute the eigenvalues of the current status sigma t or the candidate. So compare with the alpha minimum and do step and this is the Machopian algorithm, which is just existing from 1970s. So it's not used. It's an existing method. And the method called hit and run in the Young-Berger's paper. So that promoted in that paper. So it's using a transformation of the sigma. Let's call it log transformation. So that this sigma style is no longer positive definite. So anything, and as line is symmetric. So then that was a so you sample direction. And then on that direction for status, and the space you sample direction called hit, and along the line from status with that direction, and around that direction for how long. So that's just one dimension. So you run direction, you call a hit, then run that direction. So that's step. One is simulating the small x thing. One is that U0 is the direction. U0 how to get there according to normal. So that's on the surface. And it was a kind of this news and Ryan invented not long before that time. 94, and this was used on that. So point out the method was not good, mature history, and around might be okay. So that simulation started in 5 dimensions at that time. So we thought that it was not converging too well. So we said a manual method. Since we transformed to eigenvector space, so we study on that space and handle the simulation. So this is kind of a more conjugated. So this is connecting with the data. So you have another called H0. H0 so it has the component of the prior and with the data. So W so combined with the original H0. So you only have the W on that. So the constant prior to the either U or the reverse the reference prior. So we sample from lambda from this 4 conditional distribution and look at the formula. So you can actually sample more or less like inverse gassing. So that was easy. Lambda. So we transfer everything to eigenvalue, eigenvector space. So the lambda thing is only have k of those. That's easy. So how do you sample updating the gamma? those factors on that thing. So we so the gas things are hard. So the gas will not appear in the the other factors, the determinant of the sigma. So sigma depends only on the determinant of the lambda. So there is no gamma in the in the factor, only exponential part. So that's why it's here. The gamma is only here. Hard to sample from this thing. And has a method that recently, I think it's a professor at Duke, kept sampling for similar gamma by randomly select any of the two columns. So the rotation of two columns, and the column will be also on the others. Rotation any two columns to formation, and still also on the other. So updating that any two columns are updated. So K 5,000 dimension each many angles. So you have 5,000 shoot from 5,000, so a million, 20 million, or a million. So it's a lot. So that situation. Ultimately, we found out that even though it looks like the same between the column and the row, and doing the row is much better. So that for the column, you update all the columns. So doing row, you only do depends on rank of the age. So if it's a rank loading, so you have a few, then the sample covariance matrix has very few positive eigenvalues. So updating those, and the other direction they're uniform. So the angle, orthogonal matrix, the angle is the price is uniform. So to have any involvement, the price is uniform. So your posterior is still uniform in large dimension. So will be much faster in doing simplification. So therefore, we use that method. So we compare three methods and see how serious and whether we converge. So the Metropolitan hysterism, the hit and run, and also this is new methods. And simulate some data, and then we look at posterior loss. So then any dimension you cannot monitor all the convergence, right? But you have posterior loss, so you get one number based on the data. Right? We do that. And some study with K is smaller and larger, and K various different K. K could be 100, and so on and so forth. With that and that. So here are some studies. So K is for 5 dimensions. So the first breadth is the Metropolitan Hissing algorithm. And second, the red color is the hit and run. The blue is the new method. So 5 dimension. So so you look at X. This is updated the posterior loss after many iterations. R1 multiply 10 to the 7 many iteration, 25 million. The Hissing algorithm and the hit and run both converge. But it converges a long time ago. It's after 2000, but the new will converge. Well, actually, instead of updating all the angle choose from 2, we one K is larger, even K is 100. So you need a 5 direction. So getting 100 also lambda eigenvalues. Sorry, I should turn off. So we actually fix that number which as the roughly K or 2K and angle. So each cycle. Then we in that situation we don't update the sample with almost like a constant posterior. So we should make it much faster. So there's lots of things involved. Yeah. So those things converge a long time ago. After a few thousand. And when K is 10, so you see takes longer. So this is like twice as long in order to get for the Metropolitan hysterism and the hit and run. But the new method works. After the 50 and the hit and run is decent. After maybe 2 to the 10 to the 7 or whatever gets closer, and mature system never converge. You don't know where to go. At 100, so the mature system one. So the number iteration is 1.2 multiplied 10 to the 8. That's 100 million of iterations. So just say, people use a few millions iteration thought it was good. Because after it's 100 millions, just never merge. And wrong, then the red line gets closer and closer, but you think the market converges, but as still there's a gap there. So the blue line converges really quick, and so that's adapted nice towards the high dimension. So now we know that the prior and posterior structure, and then we know how to compute, and now we look at the performance of the new prior and see. So this is another number. This is an illustration how many get converges in the total time, and how long does it take, and so on and so on. So the the different dimension on that. Okay. The more interesting, we want to see the comparison of the initial and shrinkage inverse prior distribution. Difference of the two priors. So we did a simulation. So we look at the posterior and the shrinkage and for different sample sizes, NK, and see how much posterior corrected. And this is from one simulated data. We look at the posterior, the contour, and the new masses. It's better compared posterior of the large eigenvalue and smaller eigenvalue. I think this case where this is case 5. So I think left two are the first the inverse and new prior and shrinkage and different sample sizes and some 10, some is 20. So the new prior, the shrinkage gives much better the answer, and one is this is case 50. So 5 and 50. So look at it. So the situation. So overall, and the posterior and the inverse weight don't change much, but the prior and shrinkage much better. So what is the real? I think that the left, the one here is identity, the true, and so this is 1, suppose 1, and this is more closer. The new close to 1 and smaller bigger, and here the smaller is 0.2. After these two, they have different truths. So it's not identity anymore. I think the VK largest function is supposed to so identity. So we see also similar phenomena, and this down here. So once file, once more observation, so you still that doing more correcting. Next page it just applies comparison. You can see at 50, it's doing the posterior that contour plot. Look at the smallest one. The others in the middle. You compute that base risk. So doing here that we both price proper match the same mean and the same second moment. Okay. So on that for answer that this is a theoretical price should be sigma. Okay. And we use V and then we change to sorry. So risk if you prior that they simulated from the right prior. So the base estimate from the price is the minimal. Okay. Here, the first 0.2 is so you're basing, the model simulated from inverse Wisha. The methods use new model, so you get a risk of 0.82. bigger than 0.68 on that. So your ratio, look at that. The correct one is the denominator, so it's 1.19. So you lose 20% efficiency. So have the other way around. So if data simulated from the new product, and so that this is 0.2, and use inverse ratio higher, you get this 0.66. So the ratio will be 1.27. So in a sense, you use the new product, you lose some, you lose the smallest percentage on that. And then this is the case 5, and you have different m smaller and large. So in the case, one case larger, so you will see here, this is lose the new price, lose so energy, but the other way around get even worse, close to 50% worse. So in this larger P, the phenomenon and for the improvement from new price was much better. So in that sense, in oral case, the shrink is it's not as that obvious. So that's the situation. And here, when some other situation, different loss. So you lose only 2% or 7%, but use the other one gets still 50% roughly or more 30% on that loss. Okay. Second loss is of course the mean estimated. The first loss, the first of the position is the estimator. So you have two different estimators. Then you plug in the loss, computer-based risk. So you look at so we do some fair comparison. So in that sense, the new performance is good. Okay. So the last topic, and the low rank learning thing. So you need a two observation on the thing, and see how much is the actual you with it. So all the sparsity people, so they need assume diagonal or block diagonal. They need a certain sigma in order to estimate the large p small n issues. And just don't assume any of those. So, but instead we just put it there without any assumptions on any sparsity or the issue. So then we use the methods with powerful things to do the learning. And we compare various different eigenvalues and aligned eigenvalues. So in those positive and trace. So it's positive one thing. So comparison. So we kind of and find that for the lambda and the trace. So we look at all different kinds of actually lambda 1. Sorry, from m and so the case will carry 100. So 5 observation will happen 20 and 50 or 100, and also look at different lambda 20 and some trace and some of the ratio and things. So we find that the largest eigenvalues is like 2 different things, and when the 2 was identity, 2 was no identity comparison. So the idea is that for the trace and largest eigenvalue, so there's a new method using 5 observation in 100 dimension. So then learn, and so it's improving. So you have low rank learning, so that you can learn something. I'm knowing that with observation with 100 dimensional problem, you can do it perfectly. Estimation accuracy is impossible. But in some quantities, you can estimate it. Where there is no way to do that, because it's the determinant of the observation with 100 dimension compromises determinant 0. So you can estimate of any of that. So that's you provide 0 some estimate. So you can, but here you will see that the low rank learning on that. Okay. So the new class of the conjugate prior for the covariance matrix include both ratio and the reference prior special cases. Main motivation for the new class is to have a class of the prior could be subjective or objective, could be improper, and do not force the eigenvalue apart, which is in both ratio and the Japanese prior as together as the MRE estimator. Instead of comparison of these shrinkage prior with inverse which are from Japanese priors are taken. We also do a bunch of other studies here, and the frequentist risk for fixed true parameter, and then also posterior and all kinds of comparisons. I just illustrated the over risk and the lower rank comparison. We have 6 different kind of comparison studies. So new MCMC algorithms developed for the class of priors shown to be computationally effective for a matrix up to with kind of 100 dimensions, but you can do higher dimensions here. So now curious factor about a new prior as observed. The polar distribution with proper with just 3 vector of observation from the very normal distribution regardless of the dimension of the covariance matrix. And for inference about some feature of covariance matrix such as trace or something in a variable. The standard to various multiple normal hierarchical model. So we wrote company papers showing that into the hierarchical model this as a full prior, and so the estimate for original mean will be visible. So the optimal is good. So we finished that company paper. And possible extension. So Cheng Yan Su is a student of mine, so he has a lot of chapters and so he's developed. Currently he's at SAMC. I'm visiting SAMC, so Jim is there. So he's there as well. So extension he did last month was the class of the shrinkage inverse which will be improper when the H matrix in the exponential part. So you can use exponential tail, and it might be too light in some situation if H is positive that way. So when I want to have a polynomial sort of type of round tail such as Cauchy tail or a multivariate matrix solution of the profile, but without the moment, Cauchy distribution has no moment, there's the extension on that. So one possible extension is to have the instead of denominators there is B is there, but you have other omega plus the sigma here, have another factor there. So just M, B both constant, have C usually choose 1 we like, and H could be positive semi-definite matrix, and omega is positive definite. Usually don't have to. So when it's 0, can we prove that it's proper in some situation class? Have a polynomial scale, the more the Pareto, and it is actually a hierarchical prior. From original the shrinkage inverse which has H, you put H as a Wishart distribution, and you end up with case to 0, but you have that term. So I prove that that's a situation. But I needed this class. So only you will have the class of now that was a polynomial tail but exponential, so you can model the situation where you set the tail down to 0 too quickly, still a proper prior. People do subjective elicitation. But the more importantly, it allows the same distribution for sigma and position. Such a distribution that sigma and sigma inverse have the same distribution. So the part there. So once you have exponential part, then this is a inverse is only one, unless you have 2 terms in exponential. One's inverse and one's sigma, right? Otherwise, you never have the same distribution. But if you have 0, so your denominator form there could be proper, but it allows you to have both polynomial for the position matrix and the covariance matrix, which is a nice feature. Position is still a covariance matrix. So it's puzzling people how to model position or model the variance covariance matrix of position. So now you have same distribution. That way, and then data tells you, and you see in priority, right, prior or in sense have same prior. That tells you towards which direction. And furthermore, this will allow you to do the multivariate NOVA. So you have the data terms is multi-dimension, and your Banner effect is also multi-dimension, k-dimension. And that's a multivariate of the signal noise distribution. So this will be a perfect distribution for that. So you know whether you should do signal noise or noise signal. So use this class for that particular signal noise ratio, or you can do the variance correctness matrix. So you can also do extension. So it's working on. Well, we're trying to do this with application with the CPI data. So Bill and we've been talking about a couple days ago, and say model that say one application will be example is manually. So you have counting effects of you have the income. One income from your sale, one other income, or your utility bill from water or from power, or you have all kinds of those things at a county level. You all those data. The CPS have all kind of data as available there. You want to model, in addition to you estimate an important way, but you have survey or have all kind of money and get all those data, so you want to make use of those data and provide information as well. So that's where the current status is. Thank you very much.
Nobody can ask questions.
Yeah, we probably don't have time for questions.
Fine.
Unless there's any question from the audience. Oh, I know, but I felt that.
Sorry, I said was kind of overtime.
No, it must have. I had to miss part of it, but anyway, questions, I'll allow one.
I'll ask one.
I do, Darren.
Well, just that, so it's very interesting, both in terms of the motivation for the prior as well as sort of the trick of sampling gamma by rows in there. But, it's in common, so another direction of criticism of the universal chart that it's actually overly restrictive and that it results in a correlation between the variance and correlation. Interesting showed in the new class of priors that actually it's more uncertain.
Because the more shrinkage together.
Yes, okay. But when you look at overall, go back to some of your plots, your contour plots are broader. But have you heard of like the Wang and Wang prior? Basically, what they do is they take that age, they trace the diagonal, and place priors along the diagonal. That's having a constant. They set up a hierarchical sort of prior. So inverse regard condition on knowing diagonal age, but the prior age. What they're doing is so they're trying separating the correlation that so they're trying to use more.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So we can compare that thing and see which one does. So I know people prior on the diagonal, so and that's the on either the variance or the station, and the more the rest of it's on the matrix, and it was not very successful. Try all kinds of the prior and some theoretical and some ad hoc, and the overall performance was not very good. So in the normal paper, we compare with many of those trials and found out that that didn't work too well. So, but in the case we end up with was was so there are two kind of priors. One was two Trotsky composition. Okay, so two dimension. So you have the 1, 2, the other 2 and 1 up triangle, lower triangle, and I have two of that. You got a two prior. So we do a average was answer was not very good in terms of loss and everything. So we but many times they are very, very accurate. So if it's good, it's really good. So the bad is very bad. So then we turn into a geometric average of the two. That then all more or less reasonable good, but not but not bad. So it's kind of balance. The awesome perspective that was by very normal we recommend in that trial for the general percent. So we did it kind of with others. That the question is that when you have a 100 dimension or 5,000 dimension, how many such Trotsky combinations are there? It's k factorial. So one is 100 factorial is some numbers, and there was no way to solve it. So that's why we stopped in the angle, and then we continue. So there's no way to solve it. That number fitting choice is smaller than the prior. So that's why we try to turn to something else. So that is we didn't compare with that prior, but with the interest in general case and instead of 2 dimensions and comparing with such a very good question.
Okay, I'll shut everything down. Okay, thanks everybody out there. Bye.